generosity pledge last year when John Will was doing the stewardship drive. It's a concept that we got reading some material from some folks that are pretty smart about stewardship. So essentially it means designating 5% of your income towards FCC and the other 5% kind of making up that traditional tithe to other things in the world that you want to see. We suggested increasing by 1% if you weren't at 5 already to try to get to 5. So have you been able to do that? And how do you feel about that approach towards giving?
I think what's interesting is that I think typically as Congregationalists and progressives, we're often a little nervous to talk about money and nervous to talk about things like percentages and those sorts of things because we worry about offending people. But I think it's vitally important that we put out there, hey, there's a number in mind that we're looking for, there's a number in mind that's typical. And I will tell you that it's my sense that many people in this church really have no sense of what's typical or what's appropriate in terms of giving. I think putting the 5% number out there goes a long way to rectifying that.
I think it's good too, 5% to the church, and then at this church, it brings in so many other great organizations that also are nonprofits, like Climate Change or Planned Parenthood, or I just think of the connections we've had through either members or through Sunday school, presentations where it's like, oh, I'd love to get to that group too. So rather than the 10% going to the church, you have more flexibility in other really good nonprofit organizations to give to as well.
Joel and I, before last year, we were more making our decision based on like how much per month we wanted to give, like monthly, what makes sense with our budget. Since then, we had had some pay raises, but haven't increased our giving or changed our giving. So I think this was the first time we actually looked at what percentage of our income we're giving versus like how much a month are we giving. And I think we actually increased because of that. We realized we weren't giving as much as we actually thought we were. That we wanted to be closer, at that goal, that 5%.
I think it's a win-win situation. I mean, when you make a yearly pledge, the church is able to plan better for that year. But you know what? You're able to plan better in your own, personal financial needs, because it's really easy just to look short-term and to think, do the month-to-month giving. But if you think about it yearly, or even 5 years down the road, it gives you a plan for your own financial stability as well as the church's.
I do think people are afraid of failure, and money is such a, it's such an area where people, don't want to talk about, like you said, Phil. So I think people are afraid if they pledge and they can't meet their pledge, then they have failed. But I think we need to let them know that that's not the case, certainly here, and also that that setting a goal is important because it does push you a little bit. And even if you don't make it, that's okay. You tried a little bit and you achieved a little bit more than maybe you thought.
Your giving shouldn't be trivial. It shouldn't. Anything that's important to you should be impactful. So I firmly believe that the commitment you make to giving, you should miss that money a little bit in your day-to-day life, because if you do, that shows the priority and importance that you give to giving. If it's trivial to you, like dropping change in a bucket somewhere, then that's not what I think in my mind the kind of commitment that we're about.